Hello, all, and welcome to the Movie Bears podcast. This is episode 520 of our show, which is kind of fun because Jim and I are located in Tucson, Arizona, where area code is 520, just like this episode.
That's right.
There's your fun fact of the episode. We are back from our holiday break. We took a couple weeks off to enjoy Christmas and New Year's and all the wonderful things that brings, but we are excited to be back in the saddle with you. And we have a big show for you this week. We are counting down IMDb's top 10 most anticipated films of 2025. And we may have a few others we're going to sneak in as well, talking about some movies we are super pumped about and maybe some we're super not pumped about. But we'll see how things land. Let me introduce you to some husky, hairy, huggable homos that I love so dearly. Would not want to do this show without them. Jim Pugliafico is back with us. Welcome back from the break, babe. How are you?
Thank you. It's glad to be back. I'm doing good. Might sound like I have a little bit of a cold, which I do, but I'm on the tail end of it, which is awesome. It only affected me for a few days of the holiday break, but still had a great time. And yeah, for those of you out there maybe wondering, like, hey, fuck this 2025 stuff. Where's your top 10 of 2024? Well, those of you who've listened to the show previously know that we usually roll that out a little bit, in a week, in a little while. I'm not sure we have a date yet, but we're still catching up to some late in the year release movies, and we want to make sure we can see as many of those as we can. And we will be rolling out our top 10 though soon. I'm going to hold off on a date, but whether it's 2 weeks away, 3 weeks away, I'm not sure, but we're going to get to it, and hope you all join us for that.
Yeah, we'll definitely figure it out. I know here in Tucson, we sometimes don't get some of those like New York, LA releases at the end of the year till like mid-January. So we'll nail that down. But in the meantime, it's going to be fun to talk about some of the big films coming our way in 2025. But you know what? There's one more voice that is absolutely essential to this discussion. You know him, you love him. We certainly do. William Lindis, how are you, friend? It's been a couple weeks. We miss you.
Yeah, I missed you guys too. Yeah, it's been a few weeks. We took a little bit of time off for the holidays. Christmas and New Year's both falling kind of like the day after our normal recording night. So it's like,
right,
and Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve falling exactly on a recording night. So we're just like, look, we got other things to do. Let's come back to this strong in the new year. I'm really excited about this episode though, because we're at this point right now where everything is just runway for the year to come, right? And there are a lot of films that are on the horizon that we know next to nothing about. Maybe we've seen a trailer, maybe we've seen like a press release, but that's it. So every movie that we talk about today, or every movie that we don't talk about, could be the 5-star banger that's the best movie that we've ever seen. And that's exciting. The exciting thing about film, like the best movie I've ever seen, I may not have even seen yet, and maybe we'll see it this year. So that's pretty cool.
Indeed. We don't always look at IMDb's list, but certainly, we kind of look ahead and see what's coming. And sometimes it's like, I've never heard of this movie. I'll probably never see it. And then by the end of the year, it's like, oh shit, everyone's talking about how good this is. Let's check it out. And then, mind's blown. Mm-hmm. It's amazing. I always love that. Looking at this list from IMDb, though, I don't know that there's necessarily any, not heard of films.
No sneaky films on here. Right.
But there might be some that we mention. I don't know. We'll see. We'll have to see how it shakes out. But
what would be interesting is to look at, like, once we do put our like top 10 of 2024 out, go back and look at IMDb's like most anticipated films of 2024 and see how many really rang the bell for us, because just like, and the same thing for 2025, like gonna talk about these 10 films that IMDb says are the most anticipated films, and some of them are very much anticipated. But there's a chance that some film out there that maybe is kind of lurking in the shadows, not getting any fanfare, that's going to blow us away. And that's why we love, that's why we love talking about movies. That's why we love going to movies. And that could very well happen.
Well,
Definitely a possibility. Yeah, Will, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think the best way to move forward is to dive into this. Are you guys ready to pull off the Band-Aid and start maybe talking about some of these?
What did
Go.
Deadpool and Wolverine say? LFG, let's fucking go.
Let's fucking go. Yeah, so I guess a little bit of background on this. So when we say that this is the IMDb most anticipated list, this is based off of user polling, right? So all of these are going to be more popular films, all of them a part of some type of franchise, whether it be a reboot, a sequel, or an adaptation of an existing IP that is moving over into the film world. And that makes sense, right? Because if you haven't seen the trailer for the movie that's not coming out in 12 months, that right now is just a TBD blurb, that probably won't be as anticipating for you as some of these films that these big tentpole films, which is, we're going to be talking about tentpole films today, because a lot of those have put out teasers and have put out trailers to sort of start their marketing cycle. So when we talk about all of these, I think it's important to understand kind of the why of these. And I think then at the end, we'll go into some of our own that may not have made this list, which might kind of go into some wild territory. But we're going to do this in countdown format, right? Because lists are fun. So number 10 on the IMDb. Number 10 on the IMDb most anticipated list of 2025 is Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, or Dead Reckoning 2, the sequel to the other Dead Reckoning film from 2 years ago. New Tom Cruise movie. How are we feeling about this one, guys?
So the last one was the Dead Reckoning. We thought it was dead, but it's not dead, right? It's because this is the Final Reckoning. It doesn't say Mission Impossible: The Final Movie. It just says The Final Reckoning. So
it's
I don't know.
Final Reckoning.
Of the 10 on this list, this is kind of near the top of my list of anticipated movies for 2025. I've at least liked all of the Mission Impossible films that have come out. So yeah, I'm definitely in on this one. I haven't heard whether it's actually going to be the last one or not. I don't know what it says out there. I know, studios don't like to leave money on the table, so my bet is may not be the last Mission Impossible movie. We'll see. But yeah, I'm jazzed for this one.
I don't know that I am jazzed for this one. Dead Reckoning was fine, and how many times can we see Tom Cruise strapped to the side of an airplane or ride a motorcycle off a cliff, or and this is someone who really loves
blah blah blah. Yeah,
right. Like, I mean, I have really enjoyed Tom Cruise in, like, the 2 Top Gun movies we've gotten and some of the earlier Mission Impossible films. But at this point, I just feel like this is a franchise that just needs to end. And splitting apparently the last installment into 2 movies. Why? Like, I get it. They want more cash. It's a big grand swan song, but I don't know. I'm done. I don't need another one.
But are they going to get the keys, Brad? Are they going to get the keys? That's the big question.
My God. I'm so fucking tired of, like, Mick MacGuffin movies.
The red key and the white key, man.
I am going to have to go rewatch Dead Reckoning before this, because for me, I always have a good time with these movies, but I never recall them super well. Like, when I think about them, I maybe remember, like, a set piece or two, but in terms of, like, what piece of espionage or what piece of intrigue is being used to do this, I like it when it's happening. I enjoy watching it in real time, but I forgot about the existence of those keys until you mentioned it. I was instead
keys are
thinking about
everything.
the stunts. But in terms of, is this the last one or is this not? I mean, ultimately that's Tom Cruise's decision. I think that if he were to say, hey, I want to hang off of a helicopter again, the studio will throw money at him to do it, right? As long as he wants to keep doing that.
Sure.
But, even though he is still one of the most unaging, attractive people in the existence of human beings, he's not young anymore. So at a certain point, he is going to want to hang up that hat. I just don't know when that's going to be, or if that is for sure going to be here. But count me as like middle on board for this one. I'm going to have a good time with it, but I don't think that I'll be sort of at the end of my crystal ball forecast is, at the end of 2025, I'm not going to be sitting there going like, oh my God, this is the movie of the year. I'm just anticipating a good time with it. Prove me wrong. Give me a great time.
We'll see, definitely. And it looks like we've got a bunch of people who've jumped on. You're hanging out with us. Welcome.
Cool. Hey.
Glad to see y'all. Feel free to chime in with your thoughts in the live chat, or if you're catching on the show on digital tape delay through the magic of Apple Podcasts, Spotify, etc. Drop us a review, comment, whatever. We still want to hear from you too. You are just as important as our live listeners. But number 9 on this list.
Number 9.
Number 9. A Minecraft movie. Jack Black as Steve from Minecraft, and Jason Momoa in a fringy jacket.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, baby.
Will, have you played Minecraft at all? I know we're both kind of casual gamers.
I've played some on my nephew was really into it, as a lot of people of his sort of like cohort and age group were and are. And so I've played a little bit on his, and I've sat next to him while he's played countless hours.
Yeah.
I mean, for those who don't know, Minecraft is a video game, and it is the second best-selling video game of all time, right behind Tetris. Right. So it's a very popular game. It's got a lot of clout. So that's my background on it. Brad, again, we're about the same age, and we're both, gamers of a certain type. What's your Minecraft background?
Yeah. So I have some friends that are super, super into it. And a few years ago, we all started a server together in a shared world, and we built a bunch of cool stuff. I built a giant fucking Castle Grayskull from He-Man. And I spent hours mining mossy, like, fucking stone out in the wilds. And I can safely say, after completing that castle, I'm probably done with Minecraft for a really long time. I like exploring. I take that back. I like exploring like the caves and like lava and rivers and stuff below ground. But in terms of building, I never want to do it again. So I don't. Yeah, no, I think I'm good.
But here's the thing. This movie is going to be, I mean, they're going to put a plot around it and some lore. They're going to pull in some lore or maybe just fabricate some lore. I don't know. I don't know if there's any lore built into the games. In the 8 minutes and 36 seconds that I've watched you play, babe, that like I've watched you just drill down and go into caves and bump into rocks and shit. So I don't know if there's any lore, but it looks like from the trailers, it's going to be a frenetic, questy type movie, right?
I can tell you that this 100% looks like my kind of, not my shit at all. This doesn't look very good to me. Part of it is, man, like Jack Black is sort of in his I won't say no to a role stage of his career. And that's, I don't know, like for someone who I have enjoyed in the past, I'm starting to feel a little done. Honestly, Jason Momoa too, some of these people that are getting pulled in here, they have done really good work, but I don't feel like this is the venue for them to showcase their talents. The actual,
because they are talented people, and this feels like a paycheck movie, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Mm.
And look, like, I think that if you're gonna make a movie about like the second biggest video game franchise of all time, it's a no-brainer. Of course that's gonna happen. Um, I just don't think that this visually looks very good either. Like
Mm.
the blockiness, like work kind of works, but the real life characters walking across like the blocky world looks so out of place. I don't know. I don't know. This one sort
Little
of has. I would love to be wrong, but this one does kind of have stinker vibes.
little Land of
Yeah.
the
For me.
Losty kind of look.
Yeah.
Yeah, kinda.
Do
All
we feel
right.
do we feel good with this one? Were we ready to go on to number 8?
Number 8.
Number 8 is Jurassic World Rebirth. 5 years after Jurassic World Dominion, an expedition braves isolated equatorial regions to extract DNA from 3 massive prehistoric creatures for a groundbreaking medical breakthrough. Directed by Gareth Edwards, starring Jonathan Bailey, who we just saw in Wicked, and Scarlett Johansson. Look, Mahershala Ali is in this, Rupert Friend. I like all of the names attached to this. I'm kind of done also with Jurassic Park. This is the only one of these that I haven't seen a trailer for, so all I know
Right.
is the blurb.
Right. Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel like I watched one Jurassic Park movie that I liked, and then 5 Jurassic Park movies that I didn't like. And so it's really hard with that sort of batting average for me to be
Get
excited
excited.
for this one. Prove me wrong. Please prove me
Mm.
wrong. But I don't know. I'm just not there.
Yeah, as someone who did not like Jurassic Park 2 and Jurassic Park 3, but did like Jurassic World, but then none of the other new ones, the fact that this one has like taken a break and it's distanced itself from like the second set of films, part of me is like, okay, I'm curious about the lore now, right? Because it's been 5 years since all of it was destroyed, whatever, spoilers, I guess. Like, how are we going to make this work now? But then the other part of me is like, well, we're just gonna get fucking like dinosaurs chasing people again. Like, what new are we bringing to this, right? Um, I I I don't know. I'll see it. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure we'll see it for the show and we'll talk about it because it's going to be popular and people are interested. But I just don't know that it's lighting any fires
Yeah.
for me. What about you, Jim?
Well, I mean, with Gareth Edwards directing and some of the names attached, I mean, look, I'm with kind of in Will's camp. Like I like the first Jurassic Park movie, and it seems like everyone that came after that I liked less and less. And but I think this one has still. I think that franchise has a potential to excite me and surprise me. You know, I'm not saying that the potential isn't there for that. So I'm hopeful, I guess, for this that can maybe start to turn around. I'm trying to even remember where the fuck we left off, like in the last movie, wasn't it? Didn't all the dinosaurs come back to like the mainland and start like living out in the population? Was that the last one? I think.
That
I don't know.
so the end of the 5th movie, the second of the world ones, the dinosaurs got loose, and then in the 6th one, they explored some of that, but then a lot of it was like, what happens when the company that did all of that also does genetically engineered locusts, and then let's get back on an island with all of our main cast so we can do more
God, I'm not even
dinosaurs. So
remembering that. Wow.
I remember our major complaint with that, and I know at least mine was, but I think y'all were in the same camp on this one, was there is a premise about what is it like if these dinosaurs now are sort of like integrated into the world, that the
Right.
movie sort of like the last movie just didn't really follow through with and didn't really do as much as they could have with.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then just got back to an island as
Yeah.
quick as possible.
I think it's telling that I remember the short that came out ahead of that movie where like a couple of the dinosaurs roll through an RV campground more than I remember the movie that was supposed to hype up. So
Yeah.
wait, did Gareth Edwards direct that short?
I don't know.
I
Fuck.
don't know.
I don't remember.
Who? I'm gonna look it up.
All right, go ahead and look it up.
Hey,
I
you should
forget.
go to IMDb, who is not sponsoring this episode, but who is
They're
inspiring
getting,
it.
they're getting plenty of our love in this episode.
Yeah.
Oh my god! So I typed in Jurassic Park short,
Uh-huh.
thinking it would pull up that short film, and it
Oh,
just brought
God.
up Jurassic Park shorts. So, oh no, it was Colin Trevorrow. That's who did
That's
Oh,
the
who
okay. Yeah.
was.
All right.
Battle at Big Rock. Okay, never mind. I was going to say
Yep,
maybe
that's
that
the
will get
short.
me excited, but
Well, before we move on to number 7,
7.
Jim, just make a note for Christmas next year. Jurassic Park shorts for Brad.
Oh, yeah,
no
yeah. We'll get him some
thanks.
Jurassic Park shorts since he loves them so much.
Right?
I'm
It's
hopeful. That's all I'll say.
it's appropriate that number 7 is the exact film that it is, because number 7 on the list, number 7, is Snow White. And
Yes.
yeah,
And yeah,
7th place,
Interesting.
7 Dwarves.
yeah.
This is the Disney live action, although there's definitely a lot of CGI in this too, kind of as their way of doing some of these animated characters in these live
Yeah.
action remakes of the classic Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, the 1937 Disney animated film. Mark Webb has directed this, and our two major stars are Rachel Ziegler, who we recently saw in West Side Story,
Like her a lot.
Snow White, and Gal Gadot is going to be the evil queen.
Yes.
And then there's these CGI monstrosities that are going to be the Seven Dwarfs.
Oh boy.
How are you guys feeling about this one?
You
I'm gonna
know,
let Jim go
look,
first.
I saw the most recent trailer and I'm like, this would be a pretty good live action remake if it weren't for those god awful abominations that they're calling dwarves, CGI dwarves. I'm like, why didn't they just hire some dwarfism actors? You know what I mean? Why didn't they just do that? Like,
there's a reason for that.
Instead of faking them, or I don't know, put real people's faces on the CGI dwarves. Even real actors' faces. Surely the technology exists to do that. Put real like imaged faces on, because they do look kind of terrible and laughable. And I'm like, why are you doing this? Like it. I don't know if I'm gonna make it through the movie without breaking on that point.
So as for the why, I'll answer that real quick, and then Brad, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this too. The why on this one is because they had sort of like an interesting needle to thread. They originally were they put out a casting call for Little People for it, and then Peter Dinklage went sort of on on kind of a media tour. He did some basically saying that Little People kind of deserve better than having to be cast in roles like this. Now, a bunch of Little People actors then kind of pushed back and said, that's great if you're Peter Dinklage to say, but for those of us who are looking for these
who
roles,
weren't in Game of Thrones, right?
So then they shifted gears and they cast actors, and they were going to originally do more of like a deep face replacement, and I guess that didn't look very good either. And so this was the comp, and they also started hearing some like, well, how come you didn't cast Little People in this? So they got kind of stuck in between like a, do we or do we don't?
Oh my God.
And so they replaced with animated characters, which I don't know is a better solution, but at least that's the why of it all. Whether or not it's successful is a different situation, but that's at least the why. But Brad, I saw when I said the Little People monstrosities thing, I saw the look on your face when we talked about the CGI things. Let's hear it.
Whoa, they look terrible. Oh my gosh. Listen, this is Disney, right? Like, if not Disney has the fucking money and power to take actors and make them look like hobbits in the Lord of the Rings movies, why doesn't Disney with their Disney money have the ability to do that too? Not to say that the Hobbit like height differential perspective thing looked perfect, but like looks a damn sight better than what they're doing in the Snow White movies. So I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the look. Also, it seems like they're doing something new maybe with the plot. Snow White is leading a rebellion against the evil queen or something. Like, there's a whole crowd behind her. She's in the city by the castle, and she's like, we're gonna kick your ass, evil queen. And I don't know. Like, just tell the
Mm.
fucking story. If it's going to be a remake, just let it be a remake. I don't know. I have mixed feelings. Maybe it's going to do something new and interesting with it. You know what? I am a total contrarian in 2025, aren't I? I'm looking at 10, 9, 8, 7. I haven't had a single positive thing to say. So, you know what? I can't wait to see how well Rachel sings as Snow White. How about that?
I think that she is going to sing so well that all of those little CGI birds and CGI squirrels are going to flock straight to her non
She
CGI hand.
she's
Probably.
great. I've loved her in stuff that she's been in.
Mhm.
Gal Gadot, I know Wonder Woman and all that stuff, but I think she looks great as the evil queen, at least in the trailers that I've seen. So
Yeah.
I am excited for that. We'll see how the dwarf characters play, but I understand they're walking a fine line, right? Because if they cast just full heighted actors as dwarves, but made them look small somehow, then I could see that could be offensive as well. Like, hey, Disney, why did you hire full bodied actors for dwarves when you could have hired dwarves? So that can be problematic for them as well. So there's a line they have to walk, and I think they just decided we're not going to walk that line. We're just going to make up these 7 dwarves in the computer, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because removing real actors entirely, except for voices, absolutely the best decision,
I
right?
don't know. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no good solution for them, and unfortunately, as the audience, I don't know that there's a good solution for us either.
Mm,
But
yeah.
we'll see. But we're almost out of the back half of this list.
Yeah. So let's go.
Do we want to hear about number 6, Jim?
Number 6.
Number 6 is Captain America: Brave New World. This follows Sam Wilson, played by Anthony Mackie, who has taken over the shield and the mantle of Captain America. And he finds himself in the middle of an international incident. And we've got a supporting cast here, including Rosa Salazar, Giancarlo Esposito, Liv Tyler, and Harrison Ford.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk
Yep.
about this one. Where are we on Captain America?
Well, I didn't watch much of the Captain America Winter Soldier TV show that came out on
None.
Disney
Yeah.
Plus.
Mm.
Our friend Kevin and I started watching the show, and an episode and a half in, we were just like, what the fuck? This is so boring. This is a superhero show. So I probably need to go back and finish that so that I understand like why Falcon is now Captain America and how all that works and what his role is. But then when I have to watch a show as homework to watch a movie, I feel a little resentful, just being honest.
That's fair.
Not only that, but we're on kind of a Harrison Ford kick lately, babe, which is cool. We've been
Yeah.
watching
That is cool.
Shrinking on Apple
Oh,
TV
Yeah.
Plus,
It's really
and
good.
he's
It's
fucking delightful in that
it's good to
show.
see him in a role like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe that kind of balances it out a little bit for me because it's like, oh, cool, more Harrison Ford. But then it's like, oh, they're doing Red Hulk. Oh, okay, all right. So mixed feelings. We'll see. This is probably not the only Marvel movie that's coming in 2025. I'm a little worried because I'm already at like Super Marvel fatigue, but maybe Harrison Ford will pull it out for me. We'll see.
Yeah. And here's what I will say about this movie. It is a movie that I will see in 2025. That's what I will say.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm just not. I I didn't watch any of the Winter Soldier series at all. I only know what's been put in the movies, and even that is probably pretty hazy in my mind.
Mm.
Um, I don't know. It just doesn't. It's not exciting me. It's with this. I hope it's not like you said, Brad. Something where it pays off to like do a bunch of homework by watching their their Marvel TV series to really get the benefit of a Marvel movie because I'm kind of not digging that whole
Mm.
premise. And I know they're this is the way they're choosing to build off their franchise. But I don't know. It's probably just not for me. But I will watch it. Guarantee you, I will watch
For what it's worth, from the show, it's really it's a political intrigue, kind of like political thriller. So like, different political parties, and different foreign nations all kind of vying for stuff, while you have two people who are sort of dealing with the legacy of Captain America. And it's really just about, if really the takeaway is it's about Sam Wilson character sort of wrestling with the idea of kind of like, he was entrusted this shield, but should he take on the mantle? And by the end of it, he steps into it. So I don't think that there's a ton, and that's that's not spoiler stuff. You know that he becomes Captain America because that's literally the name of this movie that we're watching here. I don't think you have to watch the show to go into this. I will say that of the ones on this list that we've talked about so far, this is the first one that I would say I am actually excited for. And I think part of it is Sam Wilson, the character, is one of my favorite comic book characters. He is a fan. In fact, I just picked up, Captain America, Sam Wilson #1. It just, came out this last week. They kind of, titles only go about 12 issues before they get a new #1. So that's part of it. But it's damn good Captain America stuff. And I really love him as that character and kind of in that mantle and sort of like the legacy that he is sort of like a social worker and someone who doesn't have powers and who is Black in America and has to deal with kind of what that means, being this symbol for this country. And based on some of the other characters that it looks like, I'm seeing name checked in the IMDb, I think it's going to wrestle with some of that. And that has me excited, something that deals with sort of like the racial legacy of America in a superhero movie. Sure, I'm on board for that if they do it well.
Yeah. I just think it's great to see the incels like immolate themselves over this film.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
I haven't been on those Reddit. I haven't been on those Reddit threads.
Real quick, speaking of not incels and instead very handsome bears, Ben Woolley is in the chat. Hey, Ben.
Hey, Ben.
He says, hello, my handsome bear friends from Oklahoma City. Ben, always loves seeing your name and handsome bearded face pop up on the show. Welcome. Glad to have you with us.
Hey, Ben. Good to see you.
Second half of the list.
Can I get my my deep voiced countdown for #5?
Go.
No, that's you, Jim.
Yeah, that's you, Jim. Yeah,
my cue. All right.
Yeah.
#5.
#5 is another Marvel movie. And it's Brad's prediction, which we know the list, but still his prediction came true. Thunderbolts.
Thunderbolts asterisk.
Oh yeah, Thunderbolts. Asterix. We've got this is a film that is sort of about a team of sort of unlikely supervillains or sort of like also rans who are sort of recruited and pulled together by a government agency to do some shit. In the comics it was based off of like reformed villains. Here I don't know if it's reformed villains as much as people who are questionably moral.
Didn't we get that movie already? The reformed villains, where they went to a prison and got all these people, and
in the comics, Suicide Squad on
that's
DC,
one, yeah,
and Thunderbolts on Marvel kind of ran. They didn't start at the same time, but they basically are two sides of the same coin, right?
Got it.
So we've got Sebastian Stan in this, Julie Louis-Dreyfus, Wyatt Russell, Florence Pugh, Raquel Weisz, David Harbour. A lot of different actors and actresses we've seen appear in some of these other movies, between Ant-Man and Black Widow and the Captain America movies, are all showing up here in these different roles. This looks to be a little bit more of a action comedy than like the Captain America one we just talked about, which looked more like a political thriller. So I think based on what your tastes are, one of these might be more suitable for you than the other. Of the different film, like the last one, you were worried that that might feel like homework, Brad. I didn't really, and I said, I think you're probably clear on Captain America. I think on this one, with all of these characters appearing in previous movies and previous shows, this one may feel a little bit more like homework if you missed some of the stuff. I see you nodding your head.
Yep, I did. I didn't watch the Hawkeye show, so and I don't know. There's a lot of characters, man, and a lot of history, and it's just a lot. So, my hope is maybe they're creating it as like a launching off point. Like maybe they're setting it up so you don't have to see all that, and they explain what you need to know. But it's a Marvel movie, so who the fuck knows? Jim?
Number 4.
We're skipping over Jim entirely.
You just didn't want to give an opinion at all? Okay. Sometimes that's the
No,
answer.
I don't think that. No, honestly, I'm not. I don't feel one way or the other on this one. I just don't. I don't have enough knowledge. I don't even think I've seen a trailer for this one. Have we seen the trailer for this one in the theater? Maybe, I don't know.
I don't think we have.
If so, it's not memorable. So the cast that you went through does sound interesting though. Some of the cast members. I mean, we've seen Florence Pugh. We've seen the guy from Stranger Things, David
Harbour.
David Harbour. But some of these I haven't seen before as superhero characters. So it might be interesting for me to see that.
Well, we've seen Sebastian Stan, right, in earlier Captain America movies as Winter Soldier.
Oh, I just saw him in another movie called A Different Man.
Which, we need to talk off air, Jim, about that. I think the only one of these that requires you to watch the show would be Wyatt Russell, because he was a person that appeared as a sort of an antagonist type character in the Falcon Winter Soldier show. So the rest all appeared in movies before, although the Hawkeye show did have a lot more of the Florence Pugh White Widow as well.
Yeah.
All right, Jim, you were saying something about a number 4?
Number 4.
Number 4 is How to Train Your Dragon, the live action remake of the first film of the DreamWorks animated series that follows a young Viking who hunts dragons and then ends up befriending one. One of the interesting things about this, just from a cast perspective, is that we do have Gerard Butler kind of reprising his role as Stoic, the father character. And then we have just, Nick Frost as Gobber in this. And then Julian Dennison, who we liked from Hunt from the Wilder People and the second Deadpool movie, showing up as one of the supporting characters here. So how do you guys feel about How to Train Your Dragon?
Hell fuck yes. Finally, a movie on this list I'm excited about. Dean has made some incredible films, Lilo and Stitch, the original How to Train Your Dragon films. He was associated with The Wild Robot, of course. This is a passion project of him. I'm so excited that he's able to bring this to life with, obviously CGI for the dragons and stuff, but like being able to bring in some of these actors is fantastic. I can't wait to re-dip myself into this world. And I'll be there as soon as we can after day one to see this movie. I'm over the moon about it. I know, remakes, but like the guy who made the original movie is remaking his own movie in a new medium and format. So I think that's kind of awesome.
I'm interested to see what the new medium will bring to this. Generally, like you said, Brad, when it comes to live action remakes, I'm not on the surface, I'm not like one to get too excited about it. But this is a property that I have loved. Certainly, the first movie blew me away when we saw it back in 2010 or whatever it was.
2010, yeah.
So I am kind of interested to see what this medium will bring to it, what changes they might make to the story, if any at all. Those are the things I'll be looking for in this one. But that's where my excitement lies for this one, is just to see what they can do in the different version of this movie, I guess.
How about you,
Yeah.
Will?
I have more muted expectations on this one. I do think that the fact that it's being remade by the original writer and director is definitely a point in this one's favor. I will also say that I have been burned by a countless like parade of these live action remakes of animated films that
Mm.
I don't know, like, I don't know that I have it in me to get excited for another one of these again until something radically changes. And
Fair.
maybe this will be the thing that radically changes, but it's just like because of the Disney chain of all of these like live action remakes, it's like fool me 15 times. Well, that's who's that shame on? All of us?
Yeah, exactly.
All of us who keep seeing them, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
But you know, again, this could be the one that changes that. So I'm not down on this one at all, but I'm withholding my excitement because I just don't want that stripped away from me again.
So like guarded optimism, it sounds
Yeah,
like.
like, you know, this is sort of in that, yeah, I'll see it category. And, you know, but again,
Right.
I want it to blow me away. I want it to,
Yeah.
you know, to recapture that same magic. And that's, you know,
I-
that's the question. Will this new medium work as well? That's what we need to see.
Sure.
I want to feel that energy again. I'm just hoping that the live action stuff doesn't mute any of that energy that kind of jumps off the screen in the original, right? So,
Mhm.
so yeah, that's my hope for this one.
All right. We're getting down to the top part of the list.
Number 3.
Unfortunately, number 3 is the Fantastic Four: First Steps. I kind of wish it was in the 4th spot again so we could keep our numbering as well. This is the third and final, spoiler alert, I guess, for the list, Marvel movie that's in this top 10 list. And it follows the story of the classic and probably the most iconic, like, set of Marvel characters. You know, the Fantastic Four, here played by Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, Joseph Quinn, and Eben Moss Backrack as the Fantastic Four.
As babies? First steps, I think babies.
His first steps, yes. So
toddler superheroes.
We don't know a lot about this, but it does look like there might be some, you know, this isn't happening necessarily in the present type stuff. But I guess we're going to find out more on it. But I will say that what the cast that we've got here is exciting. And, you know, of the ones that are on this list, of this top 10, there's 2 movies that are sort of at the top of my list personally. And this is one of them. And part of that is because I've been waiting. The Fantastic Four are fantastic characters. They are really good characters who deserve a good movie. And unfortunately, they've not yet gotten that.
Those poor people.
I think this might be the setup to do it. The costumes, what we've seen so far, look pretty good. And I trust kind of trust the team that's working with them. So I've got really high expectations on this one. Now, could I get fucked over on this one? Absolutely. I've been burned with 3 different Fantastic Four franchises. Why not 4? But I don't know. I'm feeling good about this one. But how about y'all? Are you ready to see the Fantastic Four done right? Do you think this will do it, or, you know, am I setting myself up for failure?
It's funny because I'll go first, but it's funny because I didn't know much about Fantastic Four going into the first time I saw them in a movie, and that sucked. And then I saw them again in another movie, and that sucked. And then I'm like, at some point, I'm like, why do they keep making this sucky? Why do they keep making this shitty property? Or are they just making it shittily, a good property, you know, shittily? You say that they're that you love the Fantastic Four as characters from the comics, Will. I don't know. I haven't seen that yet come off the screen from the film. So give it another shot, I guess. Babe, what do you think?
So many Marvel movies in this list. Of the Marvel movies in this list, this is probably the one I'm most excited about, which is weird to say, given that it's the fourth fucking Fantastic Four thing. But maybe this fourth one will be fantastic. We'll see. There are two things I'm excited about heading into this one. Pedro Pascal, who I love, as Mr. Fantastic. I'm thinking he's going to knock it out of the park. But also, y'all, Ralph Ineson as Galactus. We just saw Ralph Ineson in Nosferatu, which we finally got to catch up with over the weekend. And he has this like distinctive raspy voice that, just gives me chills. And when I think about Galactus, like, it's perfect. So that guarded optimism you were talking about, Will, I've got some of it for this one. And I think what's different about this one too is this is not like a shitty Fox property or like a shitty Sony property. Like, this is an official like Marvel Studios version of the Fantastic Four. So even though I have Marvel fatigue, I'm thinking the quality level is going to be higher. At least that's the hope.
They know that, like, this is a franchise that they've been itching to get back for a while, because they're called Marvel's first family. The Fantastic Four in the comics predated the Avengers, predated Spider-Man, predated the X-Men. They sort of like kickstarted, if you have the different eras of comics and you have sort of like Superman and Batman and kind of some of those DC products as sort of the golden era of comics, and Captain America is the golden era of comics. I think there's a real case to be made for the Fantastic Four. We're sort of like right at that bubble of what was called the Silver Age of comics, which, launched most of the franchises that we're watching in movies today are honestly come from that era. But with that being tied up under Fox for all these years, they didn't have creative control over it. And it's really hard to see, if you're a company like Marvel that's putting out comics and putting out movies, and you're seeing one of your properties that you manage on the comic side of things not being done a good, not being handled with care on the film side, it really impacts what you do on the comic book side of things. It's like, how do you keep people excited about this thing when they get burned? So this is a chance to sort of bring the family back into the family. I hope it's good. I'm of the opinion that Pedro Pascal, at this point, even the worst movie that he's done, he's usually the best thing in it. So I'm down for that. Joseph Quinn. I mean, hey, we've got a Gladiator 2 reunion happening here. Both of them were in Gladiator 2. So maybe that's actually a mark against this. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right. Shall we move on to number
2?
Yes. Okay. What is it, Will?
28 years later. This is the third of the Danny Boyle Fast Moving Zombies franchise, after 28 days later, 28 weeks later, and now 28 years later. Cillian Murphy was the lead of those first two. He is back in this, but we also have Ralph Fiennes. We've got Aaron Taylor Johnson. We've got Jodie Comer and a few others notable, kind of like, I've seen this guy in that type of thing movie. And it's set 28 years after this rage virus has taken over, and it looks like it's going to explore, okay, well, what does it like when this group of survivors who've sort of lived isolated from all of this on a little island now have to go onto the mainland and deal with the fact that the world is not like in the process of changing. It's been changed for the worse. So yeah, this is the first and only kind of horror film on this list. Were you guys fans of the other 28 days and weeks films? How does this one strike you?
I was a huge fan of the first one, 28 Days Later. It was probably the first like big marquee type zombie property that I really dug, because it was a little bit different, the fast zombies and Danny Boyle's style. I like that film, but since then you can ask Brad. I'm like, every movie that comes up, like, oh, not zombies again. Like, fucking A. Like, we just keep getting zombies. And I think, Walking Dead and, The Last of Us and, what? I'm just saying that, yes, you can get it. What do you have to say?
There was one zombie movie you really liked that we saw with Sam White, who was on the show before we took a break. Train
Which
to
one are you
Busan.
talking about? What's that?
Train to Busan.
Oh, Train to Busan was good. Yep. I'm hoping that this can like reignite my uh or pull me out of my zombie funk. I'm hoping.
Mm.
And I know that a director like Danny Boyle is going to be thinking the same thing. He's going to be thinking, here I am entering the zombie stuff again. I better make this one stand out. And I hope he's thinking that way because I really would like this one to succeed.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Jim. I really loved 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later. Maybe less so, but still good.
Yeah.
I think 28 Weeks Later, was that 2007? Something like
Not
that.
sure.
Late 2010s, whatever. Not 2010s, 20aughts. So it's been a while since we've revisited this world, and I'm curious how the world has changed, right?
2007.
In the time. Yeah, okay, 2007. It'll be really interesting to see just from a lore perspective, like 30 years after a zombie apocalypse, like what the fuck has happened? What is the new status quo? I think in 2007, like the army was still kind of like in control of stuff. Has the army been overrun and obliterated at this point? We don't know. We're gonna find out. But yeah, I agree. I think I'm far more interested, maybe not so much World War Z, but I'm far more interested in like the fast moving zombies that are a real threat than the slow moving Romero zombies. They had their place in their time, but like I don't know. I'm playing Dead Rising right now. They re-released that game a few months ago, and yeah, the zombies are a threat, but like you can literally just like walk around them to get away from them, and I don't know. It's kind of
Make it
boring.
scary again, right?
They have to add so many zombies in that game to make them a threat because they're slow moving that it's almost like not even worth it sometimes. So I'm so contrary. What is it my glasses? Are my glasses making me an asshole in 2025?
Brad, these are
Let's-
not Brad's 10 most anticipated.
We're swapping, Brad.
There we go. All right.
You handed your glasses across the country. That
Yeah.
was pretty awesome.
Pretty awesome, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe more awesome than the movie we're talking about. I don't know. We'll see.
Perhaps.
Will, what do you think?
Well, first of all, I think I don't like horror movies anymore. No. Sorry, the contrarian glasses were making me feel weird.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. No. I'm sort of middle of the road kind of expectations and excitement on this one. I really liked 28 Days and 28 Weeks. And of course, the timing on this one. Well, why did it take so long for this one to come out? Well, yeah, it's they're waiting a bit of time to let this franchise grow. It's almost like the new. Honestly, you could do this almost like a new Decalogue or like a new Before trilogy. Just like check in with this world every so many. What's next? 28 decades later. That's me being optimistic that the world will still be here in 28 decades. All right. Look, I like zombie movies when they're done right. Zombies are never about the zombies. It's sort of about the humans and about sort of like what it's trying to say about society. And there's a lot of different ways that different zombie stories can tell that type of story in different ways. And I do think that this franchise has the potential to keep doing that well. So I want to see that. But at the same time, I feel like each one has to sort of keep reinventing itself or sort of like keep like finding new things to say. Otherwise it becomes a little bit like the Romero of the Dead series, which I felt like there were a few of those that were really, really solid. And then there were a few that sort of tapered off in terms of quality just because there was less to say, or maybe they weren't as effective at saying what they wanted to say. So I don't know. I'm going to see this. I'm excited to see this. But I also would not be surprised if this ends up underwhelming, which is the kind of the one worry I've got. This is written. Alex Garland helped Danny Boyle co-write, and I really like Alex Garland's writing, so that does have me optimistic.
Will, I got to tell you, when you started to say zombie and then Uvies came out after, my brain actually thought you were going to say zombie MILFs, that you really like zombie MILFs.
I'm a big fan of zombie MILFs, zombie DILFs, zombie step MILFs,
Stills.
zombie sir, zombie mistress, God,
zombie
just
boy,
go all the way down it, you know, like, no, I don't, at this point, I don't know what I'm coming up with a new franchise, I think. You know, before I reveal too much, I guess, about, I guess, my monster fucker kinks, I don't have those, but, you know, it's fitting.
It's okay if you do, no judgment.
Yeah, totally okay if you do. It's just, it's not, you know,
no kink shaming here.
I think now is a good time, though, to move to our
number one.
And I think this one might actually end up being our number one as a group. I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. This is the new Superman movie, directed by James Gunn, written by James Gunn, starring David Cornswet as Clark Kent Superman and Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor. We've seen the first set of trailers for this one. I really want to hear from you, Brad, first. Where does this one fit for you?
I'm going to tell you, I have some past trauma from the Snyder Superman films. But after seeing the teaser trailer that came out for this one, also after the James Gunn Guardians of the Galaxy films, which I think are mostly pretty good, I'm really optimistic about this one, but I'm trying to keep it in check. I do love that they brought in the John Williams Donner Superman movie score, but like an electric guitar in the teaser. I don't know if that'll make it into the main movie or not, but that was a very cool homage with putting a new spin on it, though. From the footage that we've seen so far, I love that the Superman costume actually looks like the fucking Superman costume. Mm-hmm. Like, it's a lighter shade of blue. We've got the red trunks. The red looks, you know, red, not black with red highlights, but red. And the movie seems to be leaning into like the optimism and the hope of Superman as a symbol and as a hero for the world and as someone who inspires. So, you know, the whole like dark Superman, anguished, tortured Superman thing, I am not interested in one fucking bit. Give me that optimistic farm boy who grew up in Smallville and developed powers and became a hero for the masses. That's what I want. It looks like that's what we may get, but I guess we'll find out later this year. But mark me in the column of I'm so fucking here for it.
Yeah, of all these films, this is the only one where I've actually watched the trailer many more times, more than once, by choice. You know what I mean? And I think the trailer is excellent. I don't think it gives away too much. I think it gives you hopefully the flavor of, like you said, Brad, that the version of Superman that we're going to get, and the quality of what we hope is going to be the quality of the film. Yeah, I think I am very excited for this one. This is, as you said, Will, this is of these films, this is the one I'm probably the most excited about, probably by far.
Yeah, this one and the Fantastic Four are the two that are at the top of my list. And I think if there were previous iterations of the Fantastic Four that were done well, that wouldn't have my excitement up as much as it does because of that. And there are examples of Superman in the past that I've liked, even though there have been some stinkers in there too. But there is an optimism to this trailer that absolutely captures what Superman is. I mean, ultimately, Superman at its core is a story of an immigrant who captures what it means to be human because of his upbringing and because of the way he was raised and because of the values that he holds, because of those things. And that's fitting now. And it was also fitting when the character was created by two Jewish writers who were dealing with that same type of thing, but from a different course, perspective when they created the character. We get to see that here. And while I have less of an issue kind of historically with the idea of, like a dark Superman type story, those things only work in contrast to the core Superman. And the problem is that we've had so many dark and gritty Superman versions that we don't have that contrast anymore. So we have to reset back to this, there's a famous comic book graphic novel called Superman Red Sun that was basically like, what if Superman landed in sort of like communist Russia and sort of like was raised as like kind of a weapon of the state there. And that only works because you can see that as a flip to the Superman that we know and love. I also love there's, while this looks like it works on its own as this super optimistic, joyful thing, there's some like nerdy little Easter eggs in this trailer too. One of my favorite DC characters is a character named Mr. Terrific.
Yes.
And he shows up for like a second in the trailer, and I'm like, okay, I want to see this. And I've also been
Crypto. Come
on.
on.
And Crypto, the super
fucking Crypto. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm a dog guy, and
yes,
so that Crypto is like, I they had me at that good boy.
Home, Crypto, take me home.
And we've now seen James Gunn not only do Guardians of the Galaxy, but he did the good Suicide Squad movie. Not the first one, but the second one, which really kind of recaptured like what those characters could and should be. And he's also show running. There's an animated show on HBO Max right now called Creature Commandos, which is sort of like an extension of the Suicide Squad stuff that it's also pretty darn good. And, for a darker, kind of like, they're not like the best of like the most moral of characters. You get to the heart of these characters and you get to like them. They make unlikable characters likable, which is, I think, James Gunn's like secret sauce. He knows how to figure out what makes a character tick and help get them to come across in a compelling way on screen. And that's what Superman needs.
Yep. Perfect.
God.
Super agree. Get it? Super agree. Ha.
Well, there's our 10.
There's our 10.
That is our 10. I'm
maybe
curious,
not our 10,
though.
but IMDb's 10.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious though. Are there any films not on IMDb's crowdsourced top 10 list that you guys are interested in? What else is coming?
If you want, I'll go first. This one is sounds like a remake. Unfortunately, I tried to look for like original properties sometimes, and there are a few that I was able to mine out of various lists that are on the internet. But one that jumped out at me was a remake. But man, this one was hard to overlook. It's a remake of Frankenstein by Guillermo del Toro. Man, I think that's going to be, it sounds like it could be amazing. We talked about Ralph Ineson earlier. Ralph Ineson is in this one. Oscar Isaac, Christoph Waltz, Mia Goth. It's going to be, I'm hoping it's going to be great. No trailers or anything that I've seen yet, but with Guillermo del Toro behind it, I loved his Pinocchio. I loved his take on Pinocchio, which was animated, of course, stop action animated. I think he can do wonderful things with this material, right? Because it's emotionally rich. There's a lot to mine there and bring out. And Guillermo del Toro is an emotional filmmaker, so I'm really hopeful for the remake of Frankenstein.
Awesome.
Cool.
How about you, El?
I'm just going to, instead of talking about one for a moment, I'm just going to spitfire a few. So you're not going to hear much details here, but there's a new Yorgos Lanthimos, Emma Stone movie called Begonia. Ari Aster has a Western that's coming out this year called Eddington. Josh Safdie and Timothy Chalamet are getting together for a Christmas movie called Marty Supreme, which is about a ping pong champion in a sort of like an uncut gem / Catch Me If You Can style story. There's a new Paul Thomas Anderson. There's a new Wes Anderson. David Lowery, Celine Song, Jim Jarmusch, Benny Safdie, and Dwayne Johnson are working on a kind of a drama about an MMA fighter called The Smashing Machine. And then the new Ryan Johnson Wake Up Dead Man, a Knives Out mystery. Those are the major ones that I'm excited by, all based on sort of like the directors, directors who I've enjoyed in the past, who I'm excited to see more from. I know there's one I left off my list intentionally because I think it's going to be on your list, Brad.
Me
So,
too.
so I've sort of held it for you.
Oh, thanks for creating space for me.
In deference to.
Well, I that's a great list of films that are coming out. All the Anderson this year. That's going to like tick all your boxes, I'm sure.
PTA
Anderson and Ryan Johnson, right? Yeah, there's a couple for me. Before I get to the one that y'all are talking about, I want to mention a horror movie because I feel like not enough of these films make our lists. Megan 2.0, y'all.
I saw it.
Really loved the first Megan movie. Unexpectedly, it looked so fucking stupid, and we saw it, and it was so fucking stupid, but like really fun
in a good
and
way.
really, really great. And we knew they were going to be making a second one of these, and we're getting it this year. So super here for that. And then the movie y'all are alluding to, of course, is Wicked Part 2 for Good, or Wicked for Good, or whatever the fuck we're calling it. Yeah. Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande are reprising their roles as Elphaba and Glinda. Well, actually, Glinda. But I love the musical. Goats don't have front teeth, so they can't say Galinda, except they do have front teeth because they show the front teeth. And
really 2 seconds after he says that, yeah, his front teeth.
I know, right? That's what makes them so nice. But anyway, yeah, really looking forward to this one a lot. Wicked is probably my all-time favorite musical. The first movie absolutely knocked it out of the park for me. You can ask Jim. On my Christmas list this year, it was like a Wicked Christmas list. Wicked little golden books, a Wicked blanket. I asked for Glinda's wand, Elphaba's broom, the toys that came out,
a blanket.
Yeah, all the Wicked things. Well, and go ahead, Jim.
No, I was just going to say, go ahead, keep going. I'm going to come back to the movie after.
Yeah. And my pup got us the Wicked soundtrack on a pink and green vinyl, which is super cool. I can't wait to put that on the turntable and listen to it. So I was reading that they are kind of expanding on the story a little bit, and they're more more closely tying it into the Wizard of Oz and bringing some of that stuff in. I kind of wonder if John Chu is going to make a Wizard of Oz movie after this, which would be kind of interesting to have like a trifecta, I know, but anyway, yeah, I'm over the moon about this one, especially with it being the first year of a new presidency in the United States. It's the light at the end of the first year tunnel for me. So yeah, I'm super jazzed.
I gotta say, like, it's encouraging for me to hear you mention that they're gonna maybe add some things to this second part, because for those of us who know the musical, which this property is closely tied to, the second act is not necessarily as rousing and exciting kind of as the first act. So I was a little worried that they would be able to follow up this movie with one as as rousing as the first movie. But if they're going to add some stuff to it, I'm all for that, to try to zhuzh it up a little bit, and get ready for the marathon. I mean, there's going to be a part 1, part 2 marathon that we're going to go to see this thing. So
yep, and I will be there in my pink Galinda Crocs.
You'll be there for 6 hours. Count on it.
I'm okay with it. And Jim, to your point, the original composer and lyricist who did all the music for Wicked is doing 2 new songs for this film, FYI.
Okay.
So,
Brad, I don't think you should be there in pink.
No,
I think you should be there in black, because black is this year's pink.
That's true. It's sharp, don't you think? Anyway, we'll save you from my singing. But yeah. Will, what about you? It sounds like you might be just a little excited for this one too.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
The first movie, was damn good. Not perfect. I had some quibbles, but ultimately it fell very high, very much on the positive side for me. And I want to see what they can do with that back half of it. I want to see, my favorite song is in the back half. In fact, it might even be the title of the movie. So I'm excited to see that presented on screen. No, I'm on board.
So what you're saying is the second part of this movie, like a comet pulled from orbit, is like dragging you in, right?
Oh, absolutely. I don't know if what they're changing for the second half of this will be changed for the better, but I am excited to know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they might change it for good. Who knows, right? Like, it could totally be a thing. I love you fucking musical nerds. I really do.
So in case anyone's not sure, this is an LGBTQ podcast, and we just proved it by...
We are a not safe for work LGBT podcast.
Oh, it's so true. I actually had someone from work recently who listened to the show for the first time, and they had to drag the name of the podcast down. I mean, someone told them that I did a podcast, and they're like, "Hey, I listened to your show the other day," and I'm like, "Oh no,
here we go."
And she's like, "Y'all talk about dicks a lot," and I'm like, "Well, I mean, yes, okay." We do have.
Is there something wrong with that? Like, what is wrong with that?
And I started to get all flustered, and I'm like, I'm really sorry if it was offensive. And she's like, "Stop it! I love dick too. It's totally good."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Okay, cool, we're good." But
it's fun. It's we're here having fun and talking about fun things. So that's all it is.
That we are. Well, I think that kind of brings our most anticipated films 2025 list to a close here. But speaking of fun things, we close the show, but plugs.
We don't always talk about dicks. See,
that's right.
We talk about butt plugs, which is
plugs.
Our excuse to talk about butt plugs,
not dicks.
So this is the part of the show, of course, if you're a new listener, like the aforementioned work friend, where we talk about things that we love and we put it on your radar in hopes that you love them too. So, Jim, what is the butt plug you want to highlight this week?
I went back and watched an old movie that I hadn't seen in years and years and years. Will, I know you saw this movie too. I'm going to plug it. I don't know if you were going to plug it, maybe.
I'm going a different direction.
I don't want to steal your plug, but this movie is called Being There. This movie is directed by Hal Ashby. It's a 1979 movie. It's still out there on streaming. It's Peter Sellers' acting showcase. It also has Shirley MacLaine in it for those of you who know those actors. Being There is a classic. It's basically the story of this man who's been a gardener for this rich person in this building in like Chicago or New York or somewhere, and the old guy dies, and the gardener is now without a job, and he's a very simple person, but he's got everybody around him believing him that he's this like savant. I don't know how to explain it, but he's got everybody around him thinking that he's some kind of like clairvoyant or something, all the way up to the president of the United States. And I love this film. I love Peter Sellers. I mean, Peter Sellers is primarily known for like largely comedic and physical comedy, like the Pink Panther. But in this role, you see a totally different side of him. He's got the physical comedy and zaniness like turned down almost to zero, and he's just acting, and it's still hilariously funny in spots. I love this movie. It's one that I kind of go back to every 25 years or so. But it's pretty old. It's 79 years, so I don't know how old that is. 50 years? 45? I don't know. It's pretty old, but don't be afraid of old movies. There's some classics out there that are really good, that feel fresh. It's called Being There.
Yeah, yeah, you're right, and this was my first movie of the year. I've had that Criterion Blu-ray sitting in my collection for like a couple of years now,
Oh,
and
okay.
because I keep every time there's a Criterion sale, I like buy a bunch of these
Buy
discs.
5 or 6. Yeah.
And then I have no time to watch them because there's always new movies coming out. So with it being the beginning of the year and like a little bit of a break between like, a lot of the new things I was doing, I'm like, I've busted out like 4 of those already the last week. Just like, like, all right, I'm gonna do some catch up. And this was one of them. Yeah, it's a damn good pick, really good movie.
Cool. Who's next?
I can go.
I think it should be Will. Will, what do you got?
Okay. So mine is a movie by Ryosuke Hamaguchi, who 2-3 years ago did a movie that ended up in my, I don't know if it was top 10, but I know it was like one of them that was in there for the top 10, called Drive My Car. Really good movie. This is his new one from this last year, which spoiler alert, we may, depending on how the rest of the year, like the rest of the list kind of shakes out, we may be talking about in an episode here in the next couple of weeks. His new movie is called Evil Does Not Exist. And there's this little village, sort of like out in the woods, like a 2 or 3 hour drive from Tokyo, and the people that live there, and it's sort of like near winter, so there's like patches of snow and hiking trails and stuff like that. The different people of this community are dealing with the fact that this larger company out of Tokyo is purchasing some of the land to turn it into like a glamping, like glamorous camping ground. And this movie is sort of about them dealing with sort of the bureaucracy of that. And meeting with the representatives and making sure that their claims are made in terms of like, hey, we want this to, if you're going to do this, don't let the sewage run into our downstream water, it's city council shit, but presented compellingly. But set against this story about like what it is for kind of encroaching upon nature and upon kind of natural things. I won't spoil how it ends, but it ends in a pretty startling way that really helped like clinch why this movie was so damn good for me. Evil Does Not Exist by Ryusuke Hamaguchi. It's damn good. It is. It was out in theaters earlier in the year, so now you can like, for like $4.99, rent it on Amazon, or if you have Criterion Channel, they actually have that playing now on there. They've been showing a few like new release films that they kind of feature there as well. So I'd recommend it. It's really good, really good.
It's one of the ones that I kind of alluded to earlier in the show when I said there's some 2024 films that I kind of want to catch up with if I have a chance before I make my list. And so I'll try to do that now that I know that it's streaming out there.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Thanks, Will. For me, my plug this week, I feel like it's kind of a cheat because we actually reviewed this film in our last episode, which granted was a couple weeks ago. But Flow literally just came out on streaming today. Well, for rental or purchase.
Rent or buy. Yeah.
Rent or buy. Instant buy though for me. And I didn't even realize it was coming out so soon. But babe, you texted me yesterday and you're like, Flow comes out tomorrow. We're buying that, right? And I'm like, fuck yes, we are. I can't wait to watch this again. Already bought it. Babe, I saw it pop up earlier when I was watching a little Dexter on lunch. It was in our Up Next thing. And I'm really looking forward to watching this again for the third time. Films that don't have dialogue don't usually like keep my attention or grab me. But this one is all about a cat in a, dystopian world where global warming floods, I think, have, wiped humanity away and just the animals survive. And it's an incredible story. It's super emotional. And, cats, like, how can you go wrong? It's so good.
I love it. I mean, it's, we'll probably talk about it maybe later on another show, but it's a hard sell, I think, to get this movie seen because
Mm.
it's no dialogue, animated, but the movie just fucking won the Golden Globe over
Yep.
the Wild Robot, Moana 2, Inside Out 2, giants in that would previously sweep those categories. But that tells you something about the quality of the film. So, yeah, great pick, babe. I can't wait to see it myself again. Also,
This is another one. If you're up for owning it multiple times, Brad,
Mhm.
which I know sometimes with certain films and their
Yeah.
releases, um, they haven't officially announced it yet, but Criterion has been emailing people about hey, make sure you check out Flow, which is usually what they do with some of these films that they're talking to with their subsidiary Janus Contemporaries about
Mhm.
releasing either on their channel or getting a disc is basically.
Oh, that would be
And the
cool.
reason that's a big thing is there's very few people kind of in the industry that are as good. At least with some of these types of films in terms of putting together a compelling looking and great special featured Blu-ray.
Yeah.
So nothing's been formally announced, so we're probably a few months out from that. So, but
Sure.
if that does come up, I'm that's going to be that'll be a day one purchase for me as well because
Yep.
it's a damn good movie that we will probably be talking about in a couple of weeks.
I figured
Yep.
something was up, Will, because I don't know if you watch them on YouTube, but the directors or actors in the Criterion Closet, Gin Silvalotis, the director of and writer of this movie, did a YouTube in the Criterion Closet, and I figured there's got to be a reason he's in the Criterion Closet.
The two that I think we're going to end up seeing there, for what it's worth, are going to be that and All We Imagine Is Light, which is also very good.
Yeah.
Another one I can't
Yep.
see yet. Damn it.
I know, right? Well, I think that's it for butt plugs this week, and we're still kind of figuring out what our schedule is going to be for next week and the week after. We do know we are off though Tuesday the 28th. Will, you're traveling, and we've
I'm
got some
traveling.
stuff going on. Jim's traveling,
Yeah.
and
Where
I'll
you gonna
be
be, Will?
having a.
I will be in Orlando. Where will you be?
DC.
My DC work trip isn't until June. Yeah.
I will be in Tucson in our hot tub. If anyone wants to come join me, let me know. Anyway,
I don't look forward to work travel as much as I used to.
I know. Used to be, you were like, "Ooh, fun trip. I'm looking forward." Nowadays, you're just like, "Oh, fuck, really? Am I retiring yet?"
Yeah.
A few more months. In any event, while we nail our schedule down, in case you want to nail us down, let's let people know where they can find and chat with us online. Jim, how about for you?
I'm on Letterboxd. Find all my movie reviews. My top 10 list will be there once we do the show for our top 10 in the next few weeks, maybe. So I'm on Letterboxd at JJP Out West. It's the same handle that's on here on the screen if you could see it. Or find me on the Book of Faces under my name, Jim Pugliafico.
Rock on. Thank you. Will, how about for you?
The three places that I would say to look for me on, Letterboxd. I'm doing a lot of movie tracking there, have been for years, and I just started this year's Criterion Challenge there, which is 52 movies over 52 weeks, which is a fun little game to play along with. So I am the movie bear there. That's also what I am over on Blue Sky, which I'm doing a little bit more of now. Because of things that are happening. But I am still on Facebook, and just look for me by name there, William Lindis.
All right. Thanks, Will. For now, I'm still on Facebook, although in light of today's announcements, oh God, whatever. You can find me on Facebook under my name, Brad Harris. I'm likely in possession of mutual friends. Well, I don't possess mutual friends, but I have. Well, that means the same goddamn thing. We have mutual friends in common, probably, who are bears, chub chasers, whatever the fuck label. You can also follow me on Letterboxd at iBradPro. I've been rating every movie I see for the last couple of years, thanks to William Lindis. You will always have Letterboxd.
We'll always have Letterboxd Brad.
But yeah, otherwise we will be back with y'all next week. We'll figure out what we're doing, and then we will go from there. Thanks so much for tuning in, everybody. Happy 2025, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Happy New Year.
Bye-bye.